Hi, this is David here at Highland Campervans and welcome to this handover video for the Auto-Sleeper Nuevo EK. In this video we're going to take you around and show you the basic control functions of this van, help you get all settled for your first few ventures away. Now I do recommend that you bookmark the video and maybe save it to your device for later reference, so when you're out about the field and you may be a little bit stuck, you can use it to help you out of a sticky spot. All that's left for me to say is please enjoy the video and I will catch you at the other end. Let's start with the control panels above the entrance door when you come into your Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. So there are two control panels. There's the one here on the left, which is for the Truma boiler system. This controls the heat and the hot water to your Auto-Sleeper. This control panel here on the right is the Habitation control panel, and this controls all the main circuitry for your van. So let's start with this one first. So to wake the screen up, we give it a little tap. And there we go. That is our main screen. So looking across the top, we've got external temperature. We've got a low temperature alert, which is the little star frosty symbol, if you like. Then we have this one, the lightning bolt, which lets us know we're on electric hookup. Our humidity level, then external temp and internal temperature levels. And then we've got time and date as well. So on the left, we've got the Habitation power button, water pump, water levels, battery levels, interior lights, exterior lights, battery selector, and settings. So first things first, let's go ahead and turn the control panel on. So press the button here, that wakes our control panel up. And these lights have all been left on before, but the system will remember if these lights are on or off. So for example, if I just turn the awning one off and then switch the panel off and then turn it back on again, you'll notice that it's put the lights back on again because it's been programmed for that. So the water pump is this one just here. So that will turn the water pump on and off. Now, as a matter of recommendation, I would recommend that you only turn the water pump on when you actually intend to use the sinks. It's just good practice to do that. And then we have our water level, so we give that a tap, and this lets us see the status of fresh water, so it's 50% in the fresh tank, and the waste tank is currently empty. Back to the home screen. And then we have our battery levels. So here we've got a bit of information going on, so let's break it down for you. Current leisure battery status, current vehicle battery status, current load on the battery. So active battery means whether the battery is on leisure or it's on vehicle, and it's indicated here that we're on the leisure battery. So the battery at the minute is receiving electric, not using electric. If it was using electric, it'll be a negative figure. You then have mains current. So the van is currently hooked up, indicated by this signal here. And that lets us know that the vehicle is receiving charge. And then we have our solar current, which lets us know that the solar system is also providing charge as well in the background. So let's move on back to our home screen. So over here, as I said, we have the light circuits, and then this is our battery selector. So the default is leisure battery, but if in a pinch on, let's just say we have been wild camping and our leisure battery is getting low, we can tell the system to switch over to the vehicle battery as a backup, but I wouldn't recommend using that for long because you don't want to drain your vehicle battery down. Your best option in that scenario there would be to run the vehicle, take it for a drive, and allow the vehicle's engine to charge the leisure battery circuit back up again. And then finally, we have our settings menu. Now, hide inside the settings menu, there's lots of different options. So you have default sets for the Truma system, but I recommend you actually use the Truma system itself rather than this control panel. You then can cycle through to power modes. So you've got active battery, your solar system just here. So you can tell the solar system to smart charge. So it'll decide which vehicle battery, which part of the batteries gets charged first. Then the automatic tank fill. So if you're using your on-site, which is fully serviced with on-lanes water, you can use your whale plug to act as a tank fill. And this is your tank heater system just here. So you can turn on the waste tank heater and the fresh tank heater if necessary, and move it on. You've then got which lights are to turn on. So again, you can decide whether you want the awning light to come on when you power on, whether you want the lights to come on when you power on. Default is to have them both on, but of course you can change that as you wish. And then just here is screen settings, so you can turn on the beeps, fill alarms, water level alarms, etc. And then finally we've got our times and dates, and then background again. Okay, and then home screen here will take us back to the top screen, and this will turn itself off after about a minute or so. So let's move on to the Truma system. So the Truma system is the one next door. So first things first, we need to power it on by holding the button down and waking it up. And there we go, that is our Truma system. So first things first, this little symbol here, that one there, watches my finger, that lets us know that the vehicle is on electric hookup. And then across the top, let me put this back on again, we have room temperature, room heater, sorry, water heater, energy mode, and fan control. Down the bottom here, you've got timers, and then setting modes down the bottom there. So you'll notice that the vehicle symbol is flashing at the moment. So this is the current selected item. We use this control panel to scroll through, and you see different items will start flashing depending on where I am and what I want to select. So first things first, you always want to start at the energy mode. The first thing you need to tell the Truma system is how you provided the energy for the vehicle. So in this case here, we want to go on board and select our electric mode because we're on electric hookup. There are different options available to you. So you have electric 1 and electric 2. So electric 1 is 900 watt and electric 2 is 1800 watt, depending on what your campsite you're on. You then have mix 1 and mix 2. So again, mix of gas and electric, electric 1, electric 2, and then you have your gas mode. So pick the appropriate energy mode. So in this case here, we're going to use electric, select that. And now we can go across and decide what we want to do. So if we want to turn the water heater on, turn that on, and then select what we want. So eco is about 40 degrees, ideal for doing dishes, washing your hands, washing your face, etc. in the vanity sink. Hot would be for running the shower. That would be my recommendation. Hot is about 60 degrees, and that's definitely designed for the shower. So in this case here, we're just going to leave it on eco mode. We're going to press the button, select it, and now you'll notice we now got 2 new symbols appeared on the top here. We now have this symbol, which lets us know that the energy mode has been picked as electric, and currently the water heater is on. So it lets us know that that is now activated and it's now heating water for us. So let's go and add the room heater. So we select the room heater, press the button, and now we can select what temperature we want this to be. So let's have it a nice, cozy 24 degrees, like so. Now you'll notice another new symbol has appeared. Okay, which is this flame symbol, and you notice that they start flashing. So this is to let us know that the heater is on, and both devices are flashing to let us know that they are warming up. They will stop flashing when the boiler has reached the temperatures for the water and for the heating system. So they flash just to let you know in the background that they are currently working away, doing their thing. So the last control function to have a look at is the fan controller. You notice that this now has come on. Now that we turn the heat on, these two are linked together. So let's select the fan control. And in here, we can tell the system that we want a nice soft fan, which is eco, or we want it a little bit more aggressive. Let's set high. And that there goes as our fan modes. There is a boost mode as well, which puts the fan on high for a few minutes to get things going. And then it turns itself back to how it was before in eco mode. In this case here, we're just going to leave it in eco mode. You'll notice that the little fan indicator here changes depending on what mode you've selected, as a handy guide for when you're on the home screen itself. So right now we have heater on, hot water on electric mode with a low fan control. So what do we do when we want to turn things off? This is very straightforward. So way to do is wake the screen up again. And I like to work my way from the right to the left. And you'll see the reason why I like to do this. So let's move this all the way to the left. So I'm going to select, rotate this to the left, and select. One click left, select, rotate this all the way to the left, select. One click left, select, rotate this all the way to the left, select. One click left, select, rotate this all the way to the left, select. And now you notice that all the symbols have now disappeared. This means that the Truma system is now in standby. It's not heating. It's not providing any energy for the hot water system. So as you see there, I like this left click, left click, left click. It's nice and easy to remember. The main important thing here is that when you're ready to turn the Truma system off, you want this top deck above this line to be completely switched off. No symbols on here at all. That is best practice. So to turn the system off, very straightforward. Wake the system up so it's in standby, and then hold the button down, like so. After a moment, you'll get the word app appear. Keep holding the button down. There's the word off, and wait until this screen has powered down. And this screen will go completely off. The little line at the top here will stay because that's actually part of the display. So this is now completely off, which means that we can now fully power down our circuits here, and that's the van safely powered down. So that covers our Truma heated system. And that covers our Habitation panel. Now granted, there's more information about the Habitation panel and the Truma system in your owner instruction books. Let's take a look at the kitchen end of your Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. So first things first, let's take a look at the vanity sink. So if you're using the sink, we do need to do two things first. We need to make sure there is fresh water in the tank and that we have turned the water pump system on our control panel, which we covered on another part of this video. And this is straightforward. Once you've done that, it's a case of lift the faucet control, allow the water to flow through like so, and then you can shut the faucet back off by shutting it back down again like so. Now you may hear from time to time when you're running this a little whine in the background, which is just the water pump. That is perfect normal behavior. And then to control the temperature of the water, you just rotate this to the right, sorry, to the left for hot water and back round to the right for cold water. As I said to you, when you finish using the sinks inside the van, a good practice is to switch the pumps off for when you're not actually using them. So let's move on to your oven and grill. So first things first with the oven and grill, you do need to make sure that you have gas in the tank and then that you have turned the gas isolation taps on, which again, we'll cover in a different part of this video for you. So first things first, you have 4 rings on top of your cooker. The large ring in the top left corner is the electric hot plate ring. This will only action when you are on an electrical hookup, so do bear that one in mind. The other 3 rings just here, okay, these are your gas control rings and they're controlled by the devices on the front here. So this ring here is controlled by this device just there. The hot ring is this one just here. There are little symbols to let you know where the locations of them are. So let's light the gas. So we push the knob in, rotate it, you'll hear the gas come through, use the sparker, give it a few seconds just to let it warm, and then you can release your finger. And let's do the other 2 while we're at it, so you can see they're running. And there we go. That's our 3 rings burning just there. And we can control the flow of gas by just rotating the dial like so. And then once you're done with the gas, rotate them back to their 12 o'clock positions, and that there will turn the gas systems back off again. Now, it is important to note that when you are cooking with gas inside your van, that you do make sure you use some form of ventilation. Either open the windows, have the door open, or run the extractor unit here to allow air to be strewn around inside the van. Please don't use the gas when the van has no form of ventilation. It's not a safe thing to do. So, when we use an electric hot ring, it's exactly the same as like a cooker at home. You just rotate this here to pick whatever temperature you want to use, and then the ring itself will start to go nice and warm. Don't forget when you finish to rotate it back to the 12 o'clock position to switch that off. Now, when you have been cooking on the hob rings here, be it the electric ring or the gas rings, it's really important not to shut the glass lid down when any of these are on or in action. And definitely after you've been cooking, you want to give this a good 5 to 10 minutes to cool down before closing the lid down. There is a warning symbol here just to remind you not to shut that down. It's just to avoid damage to the glass or the potential that the glass could shatter with heat expansion from the rings itself. So moving on, so we have the grill and we have the oven, and they work in exactly the same fashion. So with the oven, which is, sorry, with the grill, we'll do the grill first. This is the top one here. So again, it's like turning on the rings. We turn this round, the gas will come through, we'll give that a little spark, give it a few minutes, and that there is now the grill now lit. And again, you can control the flow and heat for the gas by this device here. Switch that back off again, and that then turns the grill unit off. And the oven, exactly the same fashion as well. So we open the door, and then we just basically pick the oven mode that we want to be in. So basically ignite the oven. There we go. And then this is our temperature, how we want the oven to be, as it were. And then once we finish, back to the 12 o'clock position, like so. Now, and that there covers our kitchen sink and our cook facilities. Moving on to the bathroom in your Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. So let's first of all have a look at the vanity sink. This is very much like the kitchen sink that we saw in another part of this video. So again, you want to make sure that you have fresh water in the tank. If you want hot water, that you've got the boiler going and the system has had a chance to warm. And then it's just a case of turning the faucet control on to allow water to flow through. And then you can adjust the temperature by rotating this left and right to whatever temperature mode you want. The shower works in exactly the same fashion. So the shower, it's located just over here. You can adjust it just like your shower at home. And the faucet control just down here allows the shower to function. So moving over to the toilet. Now your toilet here has a basin that actually does rotate, so it allows you to pick a more comfortable sitting position. And if you're used to the toilet, the first thing we do need to do is we need to make sure that we open the service hatch, which is this little chap just down here. So this allows obviously waste to pass through. So to do that, we control it with this flap just here. That there opens the service hatch, and that allows the toilet to be used. Once the toilet's used, you'll then need to flush the toilet. So how do we do that? Very simple. There's a little button hiding at the back of the toilet system, just over here. So you can see the little blue button. Now, I'm going to leave the lid up. Normally you would do this with the lid down, but just so you can see the action. So press the button, and there is the flusher going just there. So normally just a couple of seconds flush, just allow waste to pass through. And then once you are done, you want to make sure that you close the service hatch, which you're going to get a funny smell to come back washing through the toilet, which you won't want. So we close the hatch like so. That hatch is now shut, and that is the toilet all finished with. And that there covers our bathroom aspects. Your Auto-Sleeper Nuevo is equipped with a Thetford 3-way refrigerator. So what does that mean, 3-way? So 3-way basically means that your fridge can operate on 3 energy modes. Mode 1 would be electric hookup. Mode 2 would be running on the vehicle battery. So when you're driving down the road, and the fridge will be operated under the vehicle battery system. And mode 3 is gas. Now gas is primarily used for when there's no option for an electric hookup. That could be maybe you're camping off grid, or your campsite doesn't have any available electric hookups left. So first things first, to use the fridge, we do need to turn the fridge on. Now next to the LCD display, there's a little button hiding just here. You can normally find it by just running your finger across, and you can feel it where it's raised relief. So we press and hold the button down, and that now is the fridge powering on. So we've got a number of different displays appearing just here. So we're going to first look at the display here on the left. So to action the display options, we use the little squares. And then what we have here is the energy mode for the fridge level itself. So we have a couple of choices here. Let me just wake this back up again. So when I tap this, I can primarily pick electric mode. Then we have vehicle mode. It's going to flash because the engine's not running. We then have gas mode. You'll hear the igniter start to click, and it will ignite into gas. Or we can tell the fridge to be smart. So A means automatic mode. So the fridge will automatically look for the most appropriate energy source. This is my favorite position to have the fridge. It's basically plug and forget. It means you don't have to worry about which energy mode it's in. If the fridge can't find an electric hookup, it'll go to gas. If it realizes that the vehicle is running, it'll switch itself over to the vehicle battery. It'll do it for you, which is great news. So the control function here to the right is basically how much energy or how cool I want the fridge to be. So the more bars, the higher the temperature, so the lower the fridge temperature is going to be. So the more intense the refrigeration of the actual fridge itself. Now I normally recommend starting out at 3, start right in the middle and see how you go. And that way there, you'll know if the fridge is chilling enough or whether you need a little bit more. Now bear in mind, when you're running on gas, so your off-grid option, the higher the energy level, the more gas consumption you're going to go through. The fridge will need more energy in order to keep the fridge cooler. So I would definitely have a little play with that and see what your favorite settings are going to be, as it were. So now, error messages. So as we saw, when I selected the vehicle mode, it starts flashing and we get a little code number over here. This is letting me know that the vehicle is not running, and that way it can't find an energy mode. Now, if you have it in gas or electric hookup and it starts flashing like this error code over here, you can refer to your owner's manual to let you know exactly what that issue is. I'm just going to put the fridge back into automatic mode like so. And that there covers the actual operations of this control panel. To turn the fridge off, we just hold the button down, the little blue light will extinguish, and that there is the fridge completely off. Give that a tap, and you see the fridge is now completely off. So on the fridge door, I'm just going to move the camera around so you can see this a little bit easier. You have the control latch on the top of the door here, and this allows us to access the fridge normally. Now, the fridge actually has a little vent stick built into the handle. So hiding underneath here, there's a little bit here, which you can push out. There it is right there. Do you see the little stick? And that then can hook underneath here, and that allows the fridge then to stay in a vent mode, ideal for when you are winterizing your van and you're not going to be using the refrigerator. This stops the build of any mold or mildew inside your fridge. It just helps keeps the fridge fresh. When you want to use the fridge fully, you just push your finger down gently to release that, and then this just slides underneath the handle like so, tucked out the way, and that's then the door back into normal operation mode. And that there covers the Thetford fridge, which is equipped to this Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. Now, let's have a look at setting the bed up inside your Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. This is a straightforward process. It's very, very easy. Now, I have taken the liberty of removing the bolster cushions and the scatter cushions for this process, just to make it a little bit easier. I've just popped those on the front seat. So, simple. What you need to do first of all is we need to make sure that the back bolsters are released. So, it's a case that make sure that they are dismounted from the back of the van and they are just dropped down like so. This makes this next process a little bit easier. It's a simple case of just pulling the bottom bed out, raise it very slightly, pull the feet out, slide the cushion forward, and then drop your back bolster into the back of the seat like that. Push that back over, and then just line that up. And then it's a case of repeating the process on the other side. So I'm going to pull this base out, meet in the middle, slide the cushion over, drop the back cushion down, and that way there we have our bed. Now, some customers will put toppers on top of their bed, and some customers will switch the mattresses over, so you're not using the top side, you're using the back of the cushion. It's a case of experimenting and seeing what you prefer to do. So putting the bed away, it's a straightforward process of just reversing what we just did. Best thing to do to start with is pull the back bolsters up, slide them on top of the cushions like so, push the cushion back, and then slide the base back like so. And then we'll do the same on the opposite side. I'm going to lift this cushion up. Going to slide this cushion back. And then lift and slide. And there's a case of just tucking the bolster cushions back in, clip them back in if you wish to. And then returning your bolsters and scatter cushions. And that's then your bed tucked away and back into a lounge configuration. Located under the bench seat on the driver's side of the vehicle, you are going to come across the Sargent power supply. Now the Sargent power supply houses the fuse board. Now if there is a failure of the fuse, you will see a little red light appear in front of the fuse. You also have secondary fuses over and over here. And then under here you have the RDC board, which allows you to isolate circuits, and as well as your test switch just here for the electric hookup breaker. Furthermore, you will also have this here. Now this here is the thermostatic frost protection valve for the boiler itself. So how do you know when it's tripped? So when it's tripped, there's a little pin that pops out and you're able to bump it with your finger. When this is armed, let me just arm it just now, okay, then the pin will disappear, and that there means that this is operating, which allows you to fill water to the boiler and make use of your hot water system. Now, if you need to drain the valve for winter time, easiest thing to do, obviously you need to drain the fresh water at the fresh tank, but you do need to drain any water that's remaining in the boiler. And the way you do that is you rotate this, the little pin comes out. This will also pop out here as well, and that will then allow water to start draining out of your boiler. Now, when it comes to reseasoning your van for the next use, a common thing that happens, especially for first timers, is they fill the water into the fresh tank, and then notice there's water coming out from where the boiler is. It's probably because you forgot to switch this, as it were. So just a reminder, if you can feel the pin, this has triggered, which is allowing water to exit the boiler. If this here is flat, that means that is armed, but don't forget you do need to push the switch in the bottom there, and that now is it fully prepped. And that there is the frost protection valve and the Sargent power supply for your Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. Down along the driver's side of your Auto-Sleeper Nuevo, you're going to find the main service ports for your vehicle. So, i.e., that is the drain taps, the electric line, as well as the gas entry. So on here we have the waste tap. Down here is the freshwater drain. We have our gas infill just here, and then this is our electrical service point over there. We'll have a look at this in a little bit more detail. So this is our freshwater tap, and it's just a case of rotating the tap to empty the drain water. Now, obviously, as part of your winterization, you do need to make sure you do drain out your fresh tap. So just rotate that there, let the water drain out, and I'll recommend you leave it open to allow any moisture to escape from the fresh tank. So your LPG tank fill is through here. This is just a simple case of just twist, remove, and then connect the bayonet connected to this, as it were. Now, there are multiple different supply agents, from heat and gas agents to LPG petrol stations on board. Now, as part of traveling on trains and on ferries, you may be asked to isolate the gas system, and underneath the vehicle you'll find the bottom of the tank there is an isolation tap which allows you to turn the gas system completely off. On the side here we have our servicing points for TV and for water fill. So your Auto-Sleeper should come with a whale pump which lets you connect to this device just here, and this will allow you to have a mains water supply to your Auto-Sleeper. Don't forget, when you connect to this, that you need to go into your Habitation panel, into the settings menu, and select auto fill. This tells the onboard system that you have a mains connected water supply. So moving along, this just here is the exhaust vent for your Truma boiler. Now, on a particularly cold day and you've got the heating on going on, it's not uncommon to see steam vapor come from this. Perfectly normal behavior. Next to that is our electrical hookup. Just lift the flap up, and that then gives us our connection point for your cable. Top tip is you should never travel with a live cable. So when you arrive on site, I strongly recommend that you plug the van in first and then take the cable to your chosen energy point. Once you've got them connected, you can then turn them on. Don't forget, when you are connecting to mains electric, it is worth checking the sergeant unit and doing the trip test to make sure everything is working as it should. Don't forget to make sure that's fully closed for driving away, otherwise that can flap about as you're driving. So next to that is the toilet cassette access door. Now, strongly recommend you keep this locked. One of the number one thefts on campsites is weirdly disposable chemical toilet units. I think it's because they are easy to remove if they're not kept locked. Just below that is the drain tap for the waste tank. So again, as part and parcel of being on site, there normally will be a servicing point which you can empty your wastewater on before traveling. If you're on a grass pitch, obviously do check the rules for draining water with the campsite operator itself, as it were. For winterization, then you do need to empty the tank and obviously drain the water out. It's not a bad idea to maybe take the vehicle for a quick 5-minute drive just to slosh the last of the water out. And again, like the fresh tap, I recommend that you leave this open over the winter time, just allow moisture to escape from the van itself. So let's move further around. Now, your Nuevo is equipped with the bike rack on the back of it. So this is a very simple device to use. This arm just folds down, and then you've got the connector parts just here to connect your bicycle to. And then further up the back, you have your reverse camera. Now, the camera from time to time can get a little dirty, so it's recommended to use a soft cloth just to gently wipe the lens, just to avoid damage of the lens itself. Now, down the passenger side of the vehicle, you'll find the other servicing points. So the first one here is your freshwater fill. So you need the Habitation key for this, to pop the key in there, undo that to release, and then take the cap off, and then you can insert your water line. Now, a lot of campsites will offer a water hose for you to use, but I strongly recommend that you carry your own hose. The reason for that is that you know where your hose has been. Using a campsite hose is a last resort, and it's just for fresh water and for water safety. Next to that, we have our external barbecue point. Okay, so that's just there. So if you wanted to connect a patio heater or a barbecue heater, any gas device, you can connect to this. Now, this will use gas from your onboard tank. Okay, and it has the cut-off valve just here, and then you've got some information just here about what sort of devices that you can plug in, as it were. Okay, and then next to that is you have an external 3-pin socket. So if you are outside with the awning and you want to run an electrical device outside, for example a radio or a laptop maybe, then this allows you to use power. Now, don't forget that this socket will only work when the van is on electrical pass-through, like all the other sockets inside the vehicle itself. So moving further on, we do have 2 access lockers. So the top locker here, this goes directly under the bench seat in the back of your Nuevo. So this gives you an access port from the outside. So if you're sitting outside the van and you need access into the bunk storage, you've got the bunk storage access just here. Below this is another secure locker. Great place to stow auxiliary cables, hose pipes, tools, ramps, etc. This is only accessible from outside of the van itself. And there we go. That there covers the outside servicing points for the Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. If we open the passenger door, this allows us to get access to the fuel flap, which is located just down here on the pillar. And there you have the diesel fuel, where you need to use the vehicle key to unlock this. Now this will hang on a little hook hiding just down here. And then you have the AdBlue access here to refill the AdBlue system. Now my advice for AdBlue is only add AdBlue when the van actually asks you for it. It just avoids any odd errors that the AdBlue system may throw up at you. So when you're driving along, if the AdBlue system is starting to get low, the van will ping a message on the dashboard to let you know it's ready for an AdBlue top up. That's a great time to do it just then. If you do it too early, sometimes it can confuse the AdBlue system because it's seen a change of fluid level which it wasn't expected. Obviously, again, when you have the van serviced, you can have your service partner top this up and they can correctly do the onboard diagnostic to tell the vehicle the AdBlue system has been topped up. So just on the pillar of the door, you are going to find the tyre pressure sticker, and on here you've got the tyre sizes just here, and then the recommended pressures for operating the vehicle. Now please bear in mind that these pressures have been set as the vehicle was a van for the maximum payload. So do use these pressures here. As the vehicle is a camper van, you still need to run on these pressures. So you have it in metricated bar and in good old-fashioned PSI. To access under the bonnet, you need the door open, and this is the access flap to get under the bonnet of the vehicle. Just give that a little pull, and that will then release the bonnet latch for the van. So let's have a look at that just now. So the safety latch, just run your hand underneath the logo, lift the bonnet up slightly, and we're using your finger, lift the flap up. So this is the flap just here. So under the bonnet, you have your screen wash fill right over to the side just here. Then you have your coolant tank. Next to the coolant tank is the brake fluid reservoir. You then have your oil reservoir filled just down here. There is a dipstick. That's the little orange tag just there. That is your dipstick. And then we have our negative connection point. So if the vehicle has been winterized, there is a chance that maybe the battery for the vehicle goes a little bit weak if it's not being checked regularly. This is the negative connection point to boost the vehicle. The positive connection point is hiding right down here. That little silver flap there is the positive connection point for boosting the vehicle itself, as it were. Now, I do recommend over the winter period, if you're winterizing your vehicle, do check the batteries routinely. Go into the vehicle, check the battery levels, or maybe run the vehicle from time to time just to keep the batteries topped up. But if you are caught short, then as I said, you can use this terminal point here and the one further down there to allow you to start the vehicle. And that covers under the bonnet. Now we're going to explore the primary driver controls in your Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. Now on this model here, we have our speedometer, our fuel gauge, engine temperature, and then finally our rev counter on the side here. You then have, in the middle, you have your multifunction display, and that can show time, date, and trip information. To access the trip counter, there's a little button hiding on the very end of the wiper stalk. Give that a press, and that will then change that center information to lots of different types of displays. On the other side, you have your light controls. So this here just turns for the lights on, and then you've got up and down for indicators, and then towards you to turn the beam on, towards you to turn the beam back off again. Just below that, you have the cruise control switch, which is this switch just hiding here. So to access the cruise control, you rotate the switch up the way, like so, to turn the cruise control system on. You will see a little green symbol, there it is just there, appear, which means that the cruise control is in standby, ready for input. Once you're ready to arm the cruise control, you flick this stalk up, and that will turn the cruise control on. Now bear in mind, the cruise control will only operate when you are in 4th, 5th or 6th, and if the vehicle is traveling more than about 40 miles an hour. Any slower or any lower gear, the cruise control won't actually operate. Now, the cruise control will disengage the second you touch the clutch pedal or touch the brake pedal. Now, you can use the throttle. If you throttle while have the cruise control on, as soon as you release the throttle pedal, the vehicle will resume back down to the speed you have previously set. Okay. Now, while on the move, you can adjust the cruise control speed up, speed down if you need to make a little adjustments. There is a pause function just on the side here. So you give this a wee press. This will pause the cruise control, and then you can press it again to resume the cruise control. To turn the system off, just rotate this back to the 0 mode. Just below that is a limiter function. So the limiter function allows you to set a top speed for the vehicle. You can see there's a new symbol appeared on the dash just here. And if I adjust the control stalk, you can see that I can make changes to that speed limit. Now, this is an electronic throttle inhibitor. So what will happen here is that if I attempt to drive down the road and go any faster than 30 miles an hour, the vehicle will electronically inhibit me from doing so. Now, please bear in mind that the speed limiter does not apply the brakes. So if I'm going downhill, there's a good chance that the vehicle may coast over that speed. Now, the limiter does not discontinue when you use the clutch or the brake, unlike the cruise control. It can only be disabled by either using the override on the throttle pedal. That's by pushing the pedal all the way to the floor, and then we push to hear a click, or disengaging the system down here. On the opposite side, we have our wiper controls. So the wiper controls are fairly straightforward on this particular van. You just move the stalk to adjust the wiper position that you want to use, and this here in the middle allows you to change the intensity of the intermittent wiper itself. Wash wipe is just to bring the stalk towards you. That'll action the wash wipe, and the wipers will automatically run their program for you. On the steering wheel, you obviously have your horn, and then you have volume controls just here with a mute function. And then on the opposite side here, we have Bluetooth functions as well. Down on the door card, we have our electric windows and our electric mirror switches. To use the electric mirrors, just move the stalk to the mirror you want to adjust, and then physically move the stalk the way you want the mirror to actually move. So treat it like a little joystick. Okay. Now, moving on to the center controls. So your heating controls just here are fairly straightforward. You have your airspeed, air temperature, air position, and internal external circulation. So to adjust the speed, use the inner dial like so, and adjust the temperature, use the outer dial. The little mark just here tells you where the temperature is being set, and then likewise on the opposite side as well. Now, just a wee thing to note with air circulation: if you are attempting to defrost the van on a particularly cold morning, you might want to close the air circulation off. That allows the circulation of warm air already warmed up by the van inside. It's a great efficient way to defrost the vehicle. The other time you want to turn the circulation off is if you're in heavy traffic and it's getting a little bit smoggy, or if you may be passing by pollen fields, which is usually a chance of pollen coming into the vehicle. Now, bear in mind that when this is in this mode, just here, after about half an hour, the carbon monoxide levels in the van will start to rise, and it may start to make your windows steam up. So if you are noticing that the windows are staying steamy, just check down here, see if you're in this mode. Then if so, just switch it back out to allow the introduction of fresh air back to the vehicle, and that will help reduce the condensation inside the van. Air conditioning button, like so, turns the air conditioning on and off. Now, I actually recommend that you run the air conditioning all the time in the vehicle. That just prevents any loss of gas or any damage to the air conditioning seals itself. This particular Auto-Sleeper has been fitted with the Zenec unit. It's fairly straightforward to use. You've got your volume controls at the side here. The home button allows you to go in and look at different functions and displays. And then you have your tuner for the radio, and you can then pick your radio modes up the top here for digital and to analog radio. And then you've got your Bluetooth, which is under BT, and this allows you to access and connect mobile phones to the vehicle itself. If you don't want the radio on, hold down the power button like so, and that will then disengage the radio system as well. Now, you may note there's a little radio button just to the side here on the heating control. Now, this is to allow the radio system, if I just quickly turn the ignition off, this allows the radio to now function on the 12 volt circuit. So if I switch this here This now puts the radio into the 12-volt circuit mode, which means I can now run the radio using my leisure battery, and then I can listen to music inside the van, whether I'm just relaxing or if I'm cooking or whatever it may be. Don't forget to turn that off. So if you're going to bed or you don't need the radio on anymore, you need to make sure you disengage the switch. This then disengages the radio from the 12-volt circuit. So a little further down, you've got a cup holder, you've got a 12-volt DC input and USB input. You then have a couple extra buttons just here. Bear in mind that the rear window demister does not function. The button's there, it will light up, but it doesn't actually function because the original window in the van's no longer there. You have a central locking button for the cab, hazard warning light, and then anti-skid regulator. It's basically a traction control system. So if you need to disengage it, you can disengage it just there. And that there gives you a run around the primary driver controls in the Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. We're going to take a moment just now to have a look at the red blinds inside the Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. Now, these are fairly straightforward to use. The blind at the front has a large magnet that runs down the center strip just here. And to release it, you just squeeze it here and then pull the blind across, and then the blind will then connect to the other blind when you put it across with the magnet. Now, a little tip from me is have a rubber band handy, or a hair bubble, or maybe or something like similar. And when you connect these two together, just run the rubber band around the two handles here. Now the reason for that is during the middle of the night when you are camping in a motorhome, you will get condensation from sleeping breath on the windows. What can sometimes happen, a little bit of condensation can actually get caught in the magnet, and it can loosen the magnet off, and in the middle of the night the blind just slowly opens itself up. If you've got a little rubber band here, it just stops that from happening. So there's a top tip from me just there. So make sure when you're closing the blinds, you make sure they are fully retracted and housed in. You should hear a little click. There's the little click, and that's there, definitely located back into position. So likewise, the blind on the side does the same idea. So give this a little squeeze and then gently pull this blind out. There's a little magnet on the end which will then connect like so. And there you go, and there is that blind closed as well. Now, as I said, this particular blind is very delicate, so please be ginger with it when you are opening and closing the blind itself. So retract the blind, exactly the same process as what we just did just now. Just pull the blind across, bring it all the way over, and then make sure it is clicked into position here. Now, this is really important that you make sure this is clicked into position, because if you haven't done that, you can imagine us going around a roundabout or around a corner and the blind will fall forward, and that is now our side view completely obscured. You don't want to be trying to mess about with this while you're driving. So make sure when you put the blind away, it clicks. There's the click, and if necessary, just give it a little push just to make sure that the blind has been retracted back correctly. And the blind operation is exactly the same on the opposite side. So you've got the front window blind, and then you have the little switch just over here to do the passenger window blind as well. The other blinds on the other windows, they all tend to slide from either the bottom or the top of the window, and these will have integrated fly screens as well. So it's just a case of just pull the blind up, move the fly screen out of the way, and that is you all sorted out, as it were. And that covers windows and blinds. Inside the Auto-Sleeper Nuevo, you will probably notice in the lounge area these lights which have this track here. Now, these lights are actually movable on their track. So if they're not the right position for reading, or you want to relocate the lights for whatever reason, you can actually reposition them. So how do we do that? It's very straightforward. Now, I recommend that you make sure the light is switched off. Please don't do this when the lights are actually active. You could run the risk of damaging them. And again, I would normally suggest that you move the lights with the leisure circuit and lighting circuit switched off. Again, just to avoid any electrical damage to the light itself. So once you've done that, it's a simple case of just rotate the light 90 degrees, like so. And then the light can come then off the runs like this, or you could just slide it while it's still in the track position. So you basically put it to where you want it to be. So let's move it down here, and then we're going to rotate this back 90 degrees, nice and gentle. Don't be rough with these lights. It's very easy to break them. And then that there is the light now repositioned, ready for use. The windows inside the Auto-Sleeper Nuevo all use this style of latch. So to open the window, it's very straightforward. We push the little pin in with our thumb or finger, and then we lift the latch up to release the windows itself, as it was. So let me do the other latches just here. And that then allows the window to go out. The window itself will position put itself into position, and it's just a case of just pushing the window and retracting the window down. So it's a very simple process. Just pull the window in to bring the window back in again. Now, on the latches, you have a vent mode. So as you probably notice, there's this little gutter just here, and there's a little U shape on the clip. Now, if we place the clip on this line, just on the gutter edge, like so, that allows the window to be closed, but allows a ventilation. You see my finger disappearing down here. It allows the window to be partly ventilated. So it allows a little bit of security, but ventilation into the window itself. For full security of the window, you need to make sure that the whole U-shape is right inside the gutter, like so. So you can see there, it's not right in the lip, it's fully in the gutter. And that means the window is fully closed. If you're not sure, try the finger check. So as you see there, I cannot get my finger down between the window. It means that the window is definitely in the secured position. So there we go. That was the handover video for the Auto-Sleeper Nuevo. I hope you guys find it useful and it gets you all settled ready for your first few trips away. Now, as I said at the start of the video, not a bad idea to maybe download the video or bookmark it for future reference when you're out and about. Now, don't forget, myself, David, and the rest of the team here at Highland Campervans are all on hand to help you out if you get stuck out and about, or if you just need some help or some tips and advice. Please just reach out and let us know. All that's left for me to say is I wish you many happy miles motoring in your new motorhome and look forward to seeing you again here at Highland Campervans. Bye for now.